The space station, called Varan 7, was always busy. Lights blinked, ships came and went, and people rushed around, too busy to care about anything outside their jobs. Among them walked a young alien girl, barefoot, her clothes torn, and eyes wide. With fear, her name was Ziri. She looked no older than 12 in human years. Her skin was a soft lavender blue, and her silver hair hung in messy strands around her face. Most people avoided her. Some said she was a street thief. Others called her the crazy orphan. But no one really stopped to ask why she always looked so scared. She stood near docking bay 12, whispering warnings to anyone who passed. They're coming. They live in the walls. They eat the light. No one listened. Dock workers shook their heads. One laughed, tossing a credit chip her way. Another guard told her to move or be thrown into space. But she stayed there, trembling. Only one person noticed her words, Lucas read. A human soldier returning from a border patrol. He had seen real fear before, and what he saw in Zori's eyes wasn't just a scared child. It was something else, something deeper. He watched from a distance. Pretending to check his datapad, Zuri suddenly pointed toward the cargo hallway. There. Inside now? They're hunting again. Lucas turned his head. The hallway was dim and quiet. Too quiet. Who's hunting? He asked, stepping closer. Zuri flinched, not used to kindness. She stared at him, uncertain. You heard me? Lucas nodded. God. What are you talking about? Zuri leaned in, whispering. Monsters. They come at night. They hide in the old vents. In tunnels, they move like shadows. I tried to warn others, but no one believes me. Lucas frowned. He'd heard strange reports from maintenance missing tools, flickering lights, even odd claw marks, but everyone blamed system failures or rats. Still, something about this girl made him uneasy. Where are your parents? He asked gently. Zuri looked away. Gone. They didn't believe me either. Now they're gone like the others. Lucas looked around. Nobody else cared. Everyone kept walking. Suddenly, the lights in the cargo hallway flickered. Once, twice. Zuri gripped Lucas's sleeve. They're near. A long, low sound echoed from the tunnel. It wasn't wind, wasn't a machine. It sounded, live Lucas drew his stun baton, stepping between Zuri and the tunnel. A cold wind rolled out from the corridor. It shouldn't have been possible. No vent should blow air that cold. And then, in the corner of his eye, Lucas saw something. A long shadow, too. Fast to catch, properly slithered across the ceiling and vanished. Zuri gasped. That's one of them. Lucas didn't know what it was, but now he believed something was wrong. He turned to Zuri. Come with me. She hesitated, then nodded. She didn't trust people, but this human seemed different. He didn't call her names or push her away. They walked together toward the lower quarters. As they passed by the dining hall, Lucas noticed a group of guards chatting. He approached. Has anyone checked the cargo tunnels lately? One of the guards rolled his eyes. Oh, great. You found the ghost girl? Let me guess she told you stories about monsters. Lucas stayed calm. Something moved in there. Something real? The others laughed. It's rats. That's all. She's just a kid with bad dreams. Zuri looked down, ashamed. Lucas stared hard at the guards. Maybe, or maybe you'll regret not listening. He walked away with Zuri at his side. When they reached the lower engineering level, Zuri led him to an old service door.
I sleep.
Here, she said quietly. Lucas opened the door. Inside was a small storage room filled with broken crates. A makeshift blanket lay in one corner. This was where she lived. She pulled out something hidden under a cloth and old datapad with cracked edges. I recorded something, she whispered. Lucas took it. The screen flickered, but soon a video played. Darkness, then two glowing eyes. Blinking in the dark, moving unnaturally fast. The creature looked like a shadow, given shape. Lucas's blood turned cold. I saw them kill someone, she said. But when I told the officers, they said I was lying. Lucas now understood why no one believed her. She was just a dirty orphan with wild eyes and no proof. But this video was real. And terrifying. Suddenly, the lights in the room dimmed. The air grew colder. Zuri grabbed his hand. They're close. Lucas stood still, listening. There was a strange clicking sound, scraping, clawing, as if metal was being torn apart somewhere in the walls. He gripped his weapon. "Don't worry, I believe you now." Zuri looked up at him, her eyes filling with tears. No one had ever said that before. For the first time, she felt safe. But outside the room, something moved in the shadows, waiting, and it had already picked its next target. Asterisk Lucas didn't sleep that night, even after locking the storage room from the inside and setting motion sensors near the vent. He stayed awake, watching over the strange alien girl who now rested against a wall. Curled up under her torn blanket, the datapad footage played again in his mind. Those glowing eyes, that awful clicking sound. The beast moved like liquid shadow, and its shape didn't match any species known in the galactic archive. Zuri stirred in her sleep, whispering words in her native tongue. She looked frightened even in her dreams. At 0300 station time, a sensor beeped once briefly, then went silent. Lucas grabbed his stun baton, walked to the vent, and crouched down. A foul smell was seeping through the tiny slits. It smelled like mold, rust, and something rotten. He didn't open it. Instead, he reached for his communicator. "Engineering, this is Sergeant Reed. I need you to check environmental activity near sublevel storage 12. No answer, only static. He tried another line still. Nothing. Lucas felt it in his gut. They were being watched. By morning, the girl was awake and hungry. She didn't ask for food, but her pale face and shaky movements told the story. Lucas took her to the mess hall. As they entered, heads turned. A few people whispered. One security officer even stepped in their path. "You can't bring her in." "Here? She's not registered. She's been warned before." Lucas didn't stop walking. "She's with me." The officer frowned. "She's a known liar. Trouble follows her." Lucas leaned in. "Trouble is already here. You're just too blind to see it." The officer backed off, grumbling inside. Zuri sat in the far corner, away from the others. Lucas brought her warm broth and some bread. "You didn't have to," she said softly. "Someone does," Lucas replied. Then came the moment that changed everything. One of the station mechanics, older alien named Dran, rushed into the mess hall, leading from the arm. Everyone stood up. "What happened?" someone shouted. Dren's voice trembled. "Something ... attacked me in the lower tunnels. I thought it was a vent snack until it stood up." Lucas was already moving. "Where exactly?" "Maintenance. Shaft 14, near the coolant core. I was replacing the regulator when it struck. It moved like smoke." Zuri dropped her spoon. "They found a new nest." Lucas turned to her. "Can you take me there?" She nodded slowly. Dran looked confused. "Why is she? She knows more than you," Lucas interrupted. The tunnels near Shaft 14 were dim and rarely used. Most of the station's workers avoided them unless repairs were needed. Lucas walked ahead with Zuri behind him, her eyes darting left and right. "There," she said, pointing at a broken panel near the coolant pipe. Lucas approached carefully. The vent cover had been shredded, bent outward, as if something large had forced its way out. Inside the vent, black slime coated the metal edges. Lucas touched a bit with his glove. It hissed and burned through the fabric. "Acidic," he muttered then. Something even stranger etched into the nearby bulkhead: symbols. Ancient runes. Not galactic standard. Not even from any known alien culture. Zuri's eyes widened. "That's my people's writing. You can read it?" She nodded. "It says, 'Do not wake what sleeps.'" Lucas took a photo and sent it to the command center, but again no response. "Why isn't anyone answering?" he asked aloud. Zuri pointed to the comm panel. "They're jamming you!" Lucas didn't ask how she knew. He was starting to believe that this girl had grown up watching these things more closely than anyone. As they turned to leave, sound echoed behind them. Clink, clink, footsteps. Heavy, slow, wet. Lucas raised his baton, Back up. But Zuri didn't move. She was frozen, staring into the darkness ahead. From the shadows emerged a shaped hall, twisted, crawling along the walls like a giant insect. Its skin shimmered black, and its eyes glowed faint blue. It sniffed the air and looked directly at Zuri. Lucas acted fast. He grabbed her and threw a flash grenade. The corridor exploded with white light. Screech. The creature retreated, not before Lucas saw its full face, a nightmare of sharp bones and pulsating skin. They ran back in the safe room. Lucas locked everything down. Zuri sat silently, shaking. "I've seen that one before," she whispered. "It's the leader, the one that took my parents." Lucas knelt beside her. "We need more proof, and we need to stop them." Zuri pulled out another object from her small pouch, an old pendant made of crystal. "This belonged to my mother. It has records, voice logs, warnings." Lucas took it carefully. He didn't know what this girl really was. But she wasn't lying. And for the first time, the truth was finally fighting back. The emergency lights flickered red as Zuri and Lucas moved through the lower tunnels. Everything felt colder now, like the air itself was warning them to leave. The quiet wasn't peaceful, it was thick, heavy, and full of something dark watching. Lucas held his weapon tight, keeping Zuri close. The girl didn't cry, she didn't scream, but her body trembled as they walked deeper. She had been here before, and she remembered what happened last time. "We're close to where they sleep," Zuri whispered. "This is where they take the bodies." Lucas stopped. "Bodies?" She nodded. "The ones who didn't believe? They never left." Lucas tapped his chest armor. "I believe you now. But if we're doing this, I need more than belief. I need something to kill them with." Zuri pulled out a small crystal from her pocket. It looked harmless, but when she held it near the wall, glowing lines appeared, symbols, maps, warnings. "This station was built over something old," she explained. "Something buried." Lucas leaned in. "What are they?" "They're not animals. They were made. A long time ago, a war race. It's designed to kill anything that breathes. My people sealed them away, until someone broke the seal." Suddenly, a sound echoed behind them. Click. Click. Slammed. Lucas spun around, raising his light. The door behind them was gone. Just darkness. Then came the second sound, scraping claws on metal. Zuri grabbed his hand. "They've found us again." Ran down the narrow tunnel. Their boots slammed on the grated floor. Behind them, something moved fast and crawling. It wasn't walking. It was slithering like a huge spider with too many legs. Lucas turned and fired a flash grenade. Boom. A scream like glass shattering inside his brain filled the air. Zuri covered her ears. Lucas pulled her forward. They ducked into a supply hatch and sealed it shut with emergency bolts. Inside, the room was filled with old tools, wires, and oxygen tanks. Lucas turned off his light. Darkness was safer now. Zuri panted hard, clutching her crystal. "They don't see like us. They smell fear." Lucas looked at her. "Then we stay calm. We don't panic." Long silence followed. Then came a sound that made both their hearts freeze. A voice, but not human, not real. It sounded like Zuri's voice, but twisted. It's broken, coming from the hallway. "Help. Please. I'm scared." Zuri shook her head. "That's not me. That's them. They mimic sounds," Lucas whispered. "Then they know your voice." The mimicry stopped. The vent above them creaked. Lucas raised his weapon. A long black claw poked through the vent, but this time, Lucas was ready. He slammed an oxygen tank under it and blasted the valve. The sudden burst of freezing gas sprayed directly into the vent. Shriek. The creature retreated. Lucas looked at Zuri. "You okay?" She nodded, eyes wide. "That hurt it." Lucas smiled faintly. "Good, now we know they don't like cold." A few minutes later, Lucas got a weak signal through his comms. "This is Sergeant Reed. Sublevel tunnels breached by hostile xenoforms, requesting backup. Static, then barely audible. No record of breach. Stay put. Are you delusional, Sergeant?" Lucas swore. They think I've lost it. Zuri touched his arm. That's how it starts. They laughed at me too. They're not ready to believe until they see blood. Lucas looked at her. Then we'll make them believe. They opened the hatch slowly and moved toward the old power station. It was an ancient part of the base, abandoned since the new generator came online. Zuri insisted it still held secrets. As they entered the control room, the girl stepped forward and touched a panel. It lit up. Only blood-born descendants of the Sealmakers can activate this. She said, I'm the last one. Lucas stared. As the holograms rose in the origins of the original monsters, their creators, and a warning system long buried by time and politics, suddenly, one screen blinked. A red dot was moving. It wasn't far. They're tracking us. Lucas pulled a rusted pipe from the wall and smashed a chemical canister. A gas hissed out, dense and heavy. They hate cold, he muttered. Let's see how they like this room. He turned to Zuri. We'll lead one here. Hurt it, catch it, and show the others. Zuri hesitated. It's dangerous. Lucas smiled. Everything worth doing is... Outside, the hallway was quiet again. To quiet, then a scratch, a growl, and the air grew colder. But this time, not from gas. It was from the presence of death itself. Something huge approached. Zuri stepped behind Lucas, and then the hunt began. Old power station had no working alarms, no cameras, just rusted walls, dead screens, and long-forgotten control panels that once managed the core energy of Viren-7. Now was a trap. Lucas stood behind the door, stun baton in one hand, and the icy gas canister clutched in the other. The chemical fog curled at his feet like silent mist, creeping through the floor like it had a mind of its own. Zuri stood in the back, her hand on the glowing control crystal embedded in the wall. Ancient alien symbols blinked slowly, responding to her bloodline. The room had sealed shut the moment she activated the panel. No escape now. They're here, she whispered. Lucas tensed. You sure Zuri didn't nod? She didn't speak. She simply stared at the vent high above them, because it was dripping. Black liquid, like ink, like poison, then dash thud, something. Landed above them. It scraped along the ceiling lowly like it was tasting the air through the metal. Zuri's breath caught in her throat. Lucas gave her a nod. Remember the plan. Heard it. Show the others it's real. Zuri clutched her pendant and whispered something in her native tongue. The ceiling panel burst open. Crash! As the creature dropped. It was huge, twice Lucas's height, crawling on 6 limbs with bones like blades. Its mouth opened sideways, revealing rows of curved, jagged teeth. Its eyes, those glowing blue eyes, locked onto Zuri, but Lucas stepped in front. Not this time. He hurled the canister. Boom.
Ow.
A cloud of freezing gas exploded in the air. The beast screeched, backing into the corner, its limbs shivering violently. Lucas hit it with the stunned baton 1, 2, 3 times. It roared, swung a claw, and slashed across his arm. Blood sprayed. Zuri screamed, Lucas! He fell back, but managed to hit the emergency containment switch. Clang! Thick metal bars slammed down around the creature, trapping it inside the energy cage. It screamed again, louder, more painful. But it was caught. Lucas collapsed against the wall, breathing heavily, arm bleeding badly. Zuri rushed to him, her small hands glowing with a strange light. I'll try to help you. I know some healing. Lucas winced. Forget me. We caught one. That's proof. Zuri shook her head. They won't believe unless they see it with their own eyes. 10 minutes later, Lucas connected the chamber's data feed to the station's central grid. It wasn't easy. Most systems were shut. Off down here? But the old core still had one working transmitter. He sent the live feed directly to the control center, back in command. Officers stared at the screen as the creature hissed and writhed inside the glowing cage. Silence. Then the station commander spoke. Where did you find that?
Lucas's.
Voice crackled over comes. Sublevel tunnels. And there are more. The room erupted in shouting. Some called it a trick. Others said it was a deepfake. But one person, the head biologist, leaned forward. That's not in any record. That's something new and ancient. The commander leaned in. Sergeant Reed, what do you know about these things? Lucas's voice was weak. Not enough. But she does. He turned the camera toward Zuri. The room fell silent again. The small alien girl stood beside the trapped monster, her hands covered in his blood, her eyes full of pain. Fire. Zuri spoke directly to the command center. You didn't listen? When I begged, you didn't care when I cried. You threw me away like trash. But this thing killed my parents, and my people sealed them long ago, and someone on your station broke the seal. Lucas added, she's the last of her kind. The only one who can stop this. Then the screen went black. Upstairs, chaos began. Command sent emergency. Lockdown orders, guards swarmed lower tunnels. Medical units were dispatched to retrieve Lucas. In Zuri, but it was already too late. Back in the power station, the creature inside the cage began to laugh. Not screech, not growl, laugh. Zuri's eyes widened. It's talking. Lucas coughed. That's impossible. But it wasn't. The creature raised its head and spoke in broken galactic tongue. Too late, human. It slammed itself against the cage, walls harder and harder. The lights flickered. Zuri pulled Lucas to his feet. It's calling the others. We need to run. The energy bars began to bend. Lucas stared at the monster, then at Zuri. We're not just trapped with the truth anymore. He tightened his grip on her. And we're trapped with the beginning of a war. The monster's laughter didn't stop. It echoed through the old power station like it had swallowed 1,000 voices. Each word that came out of its mouth felt heavier than metal and colder than ice. Lucas pressed his hand to the bleeding wound. On his arm, feeling weaker by the second, Zuri helped him up, her eyes never leaving the cage that now pulsed with dim, flickering light. The containment field was failing. One by one, sparks popped from the energy bars. We have to leave. Zuri shouted, fear rising in her throat. Lucas stared at the alien beastie, its eyes glowing brighter, its body twisting and adapting. It was changing, evolving. No, Lucas said quietly. We can't leave this thing down here to escape. Zuri looked at him like he'd lost his mind. If we stay, it'll kill us. Lucas turned and limped toward the control panel. I'm going to overload the core of this chamber. Zuri's face went pale. That'll blow up the entire lower tunnel. He nodded. Exactly. The only way to stop it is to bury it again. Up. In the command center, panic spread like fire. The footage of the creature speaking mocking had shaken even the most skeptical officers. Now, sensors showed that the lower power station was heating up. The commander slammed his hand on the console. Get me Sergeant Reed now. A comms officer turned. Sir, he's not answering, but the system shows a manual overload is being prepared from the core room. The commander froze. He's going to sacrifice the whole floor. Zuri pulled at Lucas's sleeve, desperation in her voice. There's another way. There's a key in my pendant. SEAL command. If we reach the old shrine chamber just to corridors east, we can trap it again, like my ancestors did. Lucas hesitated. You sure? She nodded. But only I can activate it. The beast will follow me. Lucas tightened his grip on his baton. Then I'll be your shield. They unsealed the chamber door at the moment it opened. The laughter stopped. That was worse than the sound, because silence meant the hunt had begun. They ran through the smoke-filled tunnel. Lucas's steps were heavy each, one more painful but. He didn't slow down. Zuri led the way, holding the glowing pendant in both hands. Behind them, the air shimmered, then a loud clang. It was coming, not running, not crawling, sliding fast. They reached the shrine chamber. It looked nothing like the rest of the station. The walls were stone, not metal, covered in glowing symbols and carvings of strange, tall creatures with eyes like stars. In the center stood a circular pedestal. Zuri ran to it. Lucas turned, standing at the door, breathing hard, his vision blurred. Then, He saw it. The monster, it moved like smoke and fire at the same time. Now taller, sharper, bones had grown out of its back like spears. It wasn't just evolving, it was remembering what it was built for. Zuri placed the pendant on the pedestal. Nothing happened. She tried again. "Come on," she whispered. "Please." "Lucas," shouted, "hurry." The monster raised its claws. Lucas stood his ground. Then flash. The entire room exploded with light. The walls glowed white. Symbols lit up one by one like falling stars. The monster screamed. Not in rage, but in fear. Zuri's voice filled the room. She chanted ancient words, her tone steady despite her shaking body. The creature lunged, but Lucas intercepted it. He slammed the stun baton straight into its eye. The monster roared and threw him against the wall. Zuri screamed, but didn't stop. Chanting, the floor beneath the beast began to crack open, revealing a glowing Patan old seal made from alien crystal. Chains of light rose from the pit and wrapped around the creature. It tried to fight. It tried to break free, but it was too late. The seal activated fully. Boom. The creature vanished, dragged into the pit as the shrine closed with a thunderous slam. Silence. Zuri collapsed. Gasping for breath, Lucas crawled toward her, barely able to move. "You did it," he whispered. She looked at him with tired eyes. "No, we did it." Later, emergency teams arrived. They found the two of them broken, bruised, but alive. Zuri was taken to the medical bay. Lucas was honored with a full military medal, but he refused the spotlight. "I didn't do this alone," he said, pointing to the small alien girl beside him. "She's the reason we're all still breathing." The same people who once called her a liar now stood in silence. And Zuri. She didn't need their applause for the first time. She didn't feel alone. A week had passed since the shrine chamber sealed shut in since the monster vanished beneath it, but peace did not return. Not truly, though Zuri had saved the station. Lucas had stood beside her. Many still refused to believe what happened. Some called it an illusion. Others blamed Lucas's injury and Zuri's presence for emotional manipulation. The worst part, command sealed off the entire lower sector and declared the footage classified. No one else would see it, not unless Lucas and Zuri made them. Zuri sat alone near the window of the medical bay, knees pulled to her chest. Ships floated silently beyond the glass. She watched them drift like stars, wondering how far she'd have to go before someone truly believed her without doubt. Lucas entered the room, arms still wrapped, walking slower than usual. "They've buried the report," he said, lowering his voice. Zuri didn't look at him. "I expected that." Lucas sighed. "They're calling the creature a hallucination caused by toxic gas. And you? A damaged child with a hero complex?" Zuri smiled bitterly. "Back to being the crazy girl." Lucas sat beside her. "I want people to forget, but we can't let that happen." She looked at him for the first time. "Then what do we do?" He placed a small black chip on the table. "This is the last copy of the creature's voice when it mimicked you. The laugh, the words, everything." Zuri blinked. "You saved it?" Lucas nodded. "And I'm going to show it. One shot. It's one broadcast. It's not just to the station, but to every outpost, every planet connected to this network." Zuri's heart beat faster. "You'll be punished." Lucas smiled. "So will you." She stood up and reached for the chip. "Let's do it together." They snuck into the comms relay. Tower after midnight, no guards, no lights, no questions. Inside, Lucas accessed the main transmitter. "Are you sure about this?" Zuri asked. Lucas looked at her. "They buried the truth because they're afraid. But fear won't stop what's coming next." "You felt it too, right?" Zuri hesitated. "Yes, the seal was only a prison, not a grave." He nodded. "Don't just need belief, we need preparation." He pressed the chip into the console. A signal blinked green. They were live, across colonies, ships, and research stations. The broadcast began. The image wasn't polished. It wasn't filtered. It was raw. Zuri stood in front of the camera, her voice calm but strong. My name is Zuri. I was born on a planet that no longer exists. My people tried to seal away an ancient enemy. We failed. I survived. Behind her, the clip played the shadow creature crawling, laughing, mimicking. Lucas's voice joined hers. This isn't a legend. This isn't a story. This is real. And your station may be next. Then came the voice of the creature, distorted, inhuman, terrifying. You're not ready. You never were. The screen went black, and all across the galaxy. Silence followed. The fallout was immediate. Command was furious. Officers stormed into the tower and tried to arrest both of them. Lucas raised his hands. Broadcast's already out. Can't unsee it. Zuri held up her pendant. You can silence us, but you'll never control what's coming. But something strange happened. People began to support them. A station on Cygnus 9 confirmed similar attacks. An explorer from the belt shared old recordings. Matching Zuri's monster, dozens of witnesses stepped forward, saying, we saw it too. And just like that, Zuri wasn't alone anymore. Later that night, she and Lucas sat outside the sealed shrine chamber watching the blinking security lights. She looked at him. They believe me now. Lucas smiled. Told you, sometimes the truth only needs one. Zuri leaned back. So what happens next? Lucas pointed to the stars. We prepare, but far beneath the station, beyond the sealed pit, in a place even Zuri couldn't sense. Something shifted. A heartbeat. A whisper another had. Awakened, and this one remembered her name. It began with a whisper. Not from Zuri, not from Lucas, but from the stars. After their broadcast, the galaxy stirred. Not in fear, but in curiosity, in belief, in change. People who once ignored distress calls now double-checked every one. Stations began updating their emergency sensors. Defense protocols were reviewed, and across distant colonies, children whispered the name Zuri like it belonged in history books. But while others prepared, Zuri couldn't sleep. Inside a quiet chamber. Near the shrine, Zuri sat cross-legged, eyes closed, her pendant glowing softly in her hands. The ancient energy still flowed through it, warm and familiar. But something felt different now. Deeper, stronger than it happened. A voice, you are not the last. Zuri's eyes shot open. The pendant pulsed once, twice, and then projected. An image she had never seen before. A world, broken, covered in ash and glowing red veins. But in the center of it stood a temple, surrounded by tall beings. Beings like her people alive. Her heart raced. They survived? The vision faded, but the message was clear. She was never truly alone. Lucas entered quietly. You felt something again, didn't you? Zuri nodded slowly, I think. I think others like me are still out there, waiting, hiding. Lucas sat down beside her. Then maybe your journey isn't over. She looked at him. No, it's only beginning. Just then, the door opened, and the commander himself stepped in. This time, he wasn't angry. He wasn't dismissive. He saluted. On behalf of Varen 7 and the United Colonies. I owe you both an apology. Zuri stood, surprised. You believe? Us now. He nodded. The broadcast was unauthorized, but it saved lives. We've confirmed at least 6 more sightings across fringe worlds, and we found a hidden chamber beneath the archive. Your story matches it exactly. Lucas crossed his arms. So what now? The commander's face turned serious. Needs someone to lead the search. Someone who understands these creatures. Someone they fear. He turned to Zuri. Her mouth opened slightly. Me. He nodded. Who else? 2 weeks later, the station looked different. Zuri now wore a custom-made envoy uniform. It wasn't flashy, but it had a symbol on the chest. Her people's ancient seal. Finally honored, Lucas stood beside her in his battle armor, his rank upgraded to protector liaison. He didn't care about titles, but if Zuri was going, he wasn't letting her go alone. A sleek starship waited in Docking Bay 1, its name freshly painted across the hull. The Outcast's light. Zuri smiled when she saw it. Lucas smirked. Not so outcast anymore, huh? Zuri shook her head. Maybe I always was, but now I'm a hero too. Before departure, a small crowd gathered: station crew, civilians, even children. They clapped, cheered, and waved. A little alien girl stepped forward with her father and gave Zuri a hand-drawn picture. It was her standing on a mountain, glowing sword in hand. Zuri's eyes watered. Thank you, the girl grinned. You saved everyone. I want to be like you. Lucas leaned down. Start with listening to those who others ignore. That's what heroes do. Inside the ship, Zuri activated the pendant one more time. It hummed on. Showed a path. A route through abandoned worlds, each point blinking like a pulse, leading to survivors, clues, and maybe, just maybe, answers. Lucas set the coordinates. Where to, Commander? Zuri looked ahead and smiled. Home, epilogue deep, within a sealed world far from any map. An ancient creature awoke. It crawled. From a pit of bones, its eyes burning white, it looked toward the stars and whispered in a forgotten tongue, "The girl of the seal is coming out." Then it roared, and the ground trembled, because what had once been trapped would not sleep forever.